Good morning, guys. In the last class, we have discussed the objective questions of group 14 elements. Under that, we have seen up to discussion up to conceptual level. In this class, we will continue with the discussion of level 1 questions. We have our first question. The order of the stability of dihalides of silicon, germanium, tin, and lead changes in the sequence. He is asking us the stability of dihalides of silicon to lead is asking. How the stability of these dihalides of silicon to lead changes? Basically, we have studied that the stability of, when you are saying dihalides, whether it may be silicon dihalide or germanium dihalide or tin dihalide or lead dihalide, what is the oxidation state? All of them are in the +2 oxidation state. So what is this criteria of variation of stability of +2 oxidation state? We know that from silicon to lead, what happens? Stability of +2 oxidation state increases. So from silicon dihalide to lead dihalide, the stability should also be expected to increase. So what should be the character? Silicon dihalide, tin dihalide, germanium dihalide, lead dihalide. It has to gradually increase. So it cannot be the right option. If you see silicon dihalide, germanium dihalide, tin dihalide, lead dihalide. So this has to be this right option. Right? And rest of them might be incorrect. Which of the following is a reducing agent? Under which of the following is a reducing agent undergo hydrolysis? See, what is meant by reducing agent? The substances which can reduce other substances are called as reducing agent by undergoing themselves oxidation. And you need to stress on this particular term. Which of the following can undergo hydrolysis? Because all of them are reducing agents only, but he is specifically asking us to identify which can undergo hydrolysis. What is the criteria of hydrolysis? In order to undergo hydrolysis, the central atom of the compound should be able to expand its valence. Now, if you see, this is methane, this is ethane, this is propane. And what is the central atom in methane, ethane, and propane? Carbon is the central atom. Is there any possibility for carbon to expand its valency? Generally, carbon exhibits the valency 4, it cannot expand its valency more than 4. But here, C-lane, this is called as, what is it called as? C-lane importance. But silicon can expand its valency beyond 4 also. Because of that particular reason, it can undergo hydrolysis. This is a reducing agent which can undergo hydrolysis since silicon can expand its valency. Take the next question. The hardness of diamond is due. Generally, we know that the diamond is the hardest, one of the hardest substances. And he is asking what is the reason for the hardness of the diamond. Go through the options. Joint molecular structure, joint polymer structure, high refractive index, hexagonal layer, lattice structure, high electronegativity of carbon. What might be the reason for the hardness of diamond? Its structure. It is a gigantic polymeric structure. This gigantic polymeric structure is actually responsible factor. In diamond, there are carbon-carbon single bonds which are strongly held by one another, which gives a gigantic polymeric structure. Because of this particular reason, the diamond is found to be very hard in nature. Graphite is a good conductor of electricity due to. Generally, we know that graphite is one of the non-metallic conductor, and asking us to identify the reason for the conducting nature of the graphite. It's a giant tetrahedral polymeric structure. This, first of all, graphite structure is not a joint tetrahedral polymeric structure. It is hexagonal layer structure. its high refractive index, it is not has the highest refractive index, its refractive index is less than diamond, presence of free and mobile electrons. This is actually the reason for the generally what is required to exhibit the conductance. Free electrons are required, right? Because carbon in graphite is sp2 hybridized. It forms only 3 bonds. Each carbon is associated with a single electron, which is unpaired, and this will available. This electron will move in the layers, which is responsible for the conductance of the graphite. Graphite is used as a lubricant due to, first of all, you should know what is meant by lubricant. Lubricant is a chemical substance which is applied to reduce the mechanical friction, generally which is also called as grease or various things. Generally, whenever we are using mechanical instruments such as various objects, in order to reduce that friction produced, then we apply the lubricants. Because of the slippery nature, it's a giant structure, high refractive index, high IP value of carbon. The reason for graphite to be used as a lubricant is that it's a slippery structure. What is meant by slippery structure? Basically, graphite is a hexagonal layer structure. What is meant by hexagonal layer structure? There will be several hexagonal layers in the graphite in this way. It will be something like this. It goes on like this. This is a one layer. There will be one more layer, something like this. These layers can slip one over the other. These layers can slip one over the other. This is called slippery nature of the graphite layers. Because of this slippery nature, it is used as a lubricant. Carbon dioxide and nitrogen gas are non-supporter of combustion. However, for putting out fires, carbon dioxide is preferred over nitrogen, because carbon dioxide, generally saying that both carbon dioxide as well as dinitrogen gases are non-supporter of oxygen. Even though both of them are non-supporters, generally we prefer carbon dioxide as a fire extinguisher over dinitrogen. He is asking what is the reason for this? Because does not forms non-combustible product with burning substances. Since it is denser than nitrogen, is a more reactive gas. Basically, carbon dioxide is more denser than nitrogen. Because of that reason only it is basically used. It is even denser than the oxygen. What is required for the combustion? Oxygen is required. Whenever you are using carbon dioxide as a fire extinguisher, what happens? This carbon dioxide gas will form a dense layer around the flame or fire, which will prevent the supply of oxygen. As it is denser than oxygen gas, it will be the bottom layer. It will form the bottom layer, and oxygen gas remains on the upper layer, which will not be in contact with the fire. So that gradually what happens? The fire has to be come down, and ultimately it will be extinguished. Carbon monoxide is poisonous because generally carbon monoxide is a very poisonous gas. Generally 100 parts up to 100 to 1000 parts in atmosphere, it can immediately kill a person. In smaller quantities, it will lead to the blindness and various other effects. It is a very poisonous gas. He is asking the reason for the poisonous of the carbon monoxide. Dries up, reduces the organic matter of tissues, combines with hemoglobin and causes deficiency of oxygen in blood, combines with oxygen present in the blood to form carbon dioxide. Actually, it is a responsible factor. If you see, it basically combines with the hemoglobin of the blood cells. What is the role of hemoglobin? Hemoglobin actually the transporter of respiratory gases. It combines with oxygen to form oxyhemoglobin. It combines, this oxygen will be released in the cells. From cells, it collects the carbon dioxide, forms carboxyhemoglobin. This carboxyhemoglobin will be released from out of the cells. But it has a very high tendency. It has 300 times higher affinity for hemoglobin than the carbon dioxide. It combines irreversibly. It combines irreversibly with the hemoglobin. What is meant by irreversibly? This is a reversible combination. It can combine and it can again this is the free hemoglobin oxygen. It combines, forms oxyhemoglobin. When it enters into the cells, it will release the oxygen, and it is called reversible. But whereas carbon monoxide will be irreversibly combines with the hemoglobin, so that the available hemoglobin for the transportation of oxygen, carbon dioxide will greatly reduces, which ultimately kills a person. He has given a chemical equation: silicon tetrachloride plus water gives a product X plus 4HCl. X on heating up to 1000 degrees Celsius, Y is obtained. Y on treating with HF, but the final product obtained is. He has given H2SiO3, H4SiO4, SiF4 or H2SiF6. First of all, let us try to complete this equation. What he has given? Silicon tetrachloride is given. Silicon tetrachloride, which is when treated with 4 moles of water, it forms H4SiO4 organosilicic acid plus 4 moles of HCl. Right? When this organosilicic acid, this is HCl, is heated up to 1000 degrees centigrade. When you are heating this 1000 degrees Celsius, what happens? It will be converted into silicon dioxide plus 2 moles of water. It will split. When this silicon oxide is treated with HF, take 6 moles of HF, it will be converted into H2SiF6 plus here you get water will get. Water will get. Right? Is it balanced? How many moles? 2 moles. Sorry, here it has to be SiO. Hope it is balanced. Right? So, what is the question is asking us to identify the final product obtained is. What is the final product obtained here is? This is what is this? H2SiF6. This is hydrogen silicon fluoride. Here also we have an equation. Silicon on reaction with A gives X plus 1. In this reaction, Y is one of the global warming gas. A is water soluble alkali metal carbonate whose molecular weight is 106. The common name of X is, right. See, here you have the clue. What is it? When silicon reacts with A, it forms X plus Y. And Y is one of the global warming gas. Here he has given the clue regarding Y. Why he has given the clue? Y is a global warming gas. First of all, it is a gas, that is global warming gas. Second clue he has given that A is the water soluble alkali metal. He has given the alkali metal carbonate. He has also given one other clue is that its molecular weight is 106. The common name of X is. By using this clue, first of all you need to identify what is A here. First of all, A has to be alkali water soluble alkali metal carbonate. So he has given the 106. Generally, what is the general formula of carbonates of alkali metals? M2CO3. So here he has given the molecular formula as 106. It has to be equal to 106. The molecular mass of this particular compound. Generally, what is common in carbonates? This CO3 is common. What is the mass of this CO3? 1 carbon plus 3 oxygen. How much it comes? 12 plus what is this? 3 oxygen means each oxygen will be 60. So how much it comes? It will be 48. It comes. Right? 48. Sorry, it will come 12 plus 48. It comes 60. Right? And so, what is this? From this you can find out the X value. 106 minus 60. How much it comes? It comes 46. So, actually this is M2 it is. What is this? M2 it is. Actually, what you have to take is 2x you take. 2x you take. Or let us take 2m. What is the problem? Let us take 2m. Right? Now, what is m from here? From this, m will be 46 upon 2. How much it comes? 23. What is the atomic mass of 23? Element with an atomic mass 23 should be sodium. So, what is A here? A has to be Na2CO3. Hope it is clear how to analyze this. We don't know the atomic mass of MF. We are trying to identify the atomic mass. So, what is atomic molecular mass? It is the sum of the atomic masses of all the atoms present in a compound. So, 2 M atoms are present, and we know the mass of carbon is 60. Right? So, A is what is this? Sodium carbonate, which is also water soluble. From this, let us try to complete this equation. What is the equation here? The equation given here is Si Na2O3. What it will form? Na2 SiO3 plus carbon dioxide. Here Y, this is Y and this is X and this is H. See, Y is a gas, carbon dioxide gas. We know that carbon dioxide gas is a global warming gas. Global warming gas. Right? Now, what is asking us to identify? He is asking us to identify what is the X here. X is actually what it is? Sodium silicate X. He is asking what is the common name of sodium silicate. He is not asking us to identify which compound is formed. He is asking the common name. The common name of this silicate is water glass. What is this? Water glass. So your answer will be water glass. Hope it is clear. The key point in this question is that you should be able to interpret the data given. From the given data, you should be able to complete the equation. And once you complete the equation, you should also have the awareness regarding the common names of the compounds. Here comes our next question. Hydrolysis of silicon tetrachloride gives a compound X and HCl. On heating to 1000 degrees Celsius, X loses water to form and Y. Identify X and Y respectively. Let's complete the equation first of all. Try to understand the data. He said that hydrolysis of silicon tetrachloride. What is meant by hydrolysis? Whenever you treat silicon tetrachloride with water, it forms silicic acid or silicic acid plus HCl. So take 4 moles to balance this equation. So you will get 4 moles of HCl. So here he said that this is X, and in the equation he said HCl is already given. When X is heated, H4SiO4, when heated at 1000 degrees Celsius, what happens when you heat this at 1000 degrees? You undergo dehydration, right? It will convert into SiO2 plus 2H2, right? What is it from? CH5 gas form, right? So this is Y. What is it? Y. He is asking us to identify X and Y. What is X? R2 silicic acid, and what is Y? Silicon dioxide. Do you have your answer? Here you have your answer. X is, you should be careful with the order in which they are asked. It could be XY as well as YX. So as it is XY, X will be R2 acid and Y is silicon. Who is clear? This makes the completion of level 1 questions of group 14, and let's move to the level 2 questions of the group 14. Lead and tin are extracted from their chief ore by carbon reduction and self-reduction and carbon reduction, electrolysis and self-reduction and electrolysis. First of all, you should understand what is meant by extraction. Basically, all these elements do not exist in the free form in the nature. They exist in the combined form, generally as the minerals. If you are talking about lead lead basically exists in the form of lead sulfide. If I talk about tin will also exist in the form of oxide as well as sulfides. So if you want to separate this lead from lead sulfide, this is called extraction. You have to separate both lead and sulfur. This is called extraction. In order to extract metals or elements, we have several processes. Basically, one of the important step in the extraction. There are several steps in the extraction of a particular element from a mineral or its compound. Now, basically, this lead sulfide and tin oxides or sulfides are basically extracted by self-reduction in carbon reduction. What is meant by self-reduction? Basically, let us take this lead sulfide. Lead sulfide, when you are heating in presence of oxygen, it will be converted into lead oxide plus sulfur dioxide. Take 2 moles of oxygen. This is we call roasting. When this lead sulfide, if you combines with the lead oxide, it undergoes self-reduction. What happens here? You will get 2 moles of lead plus SO2 you get. Here see, it is reduced, right? If you see here also it is plus 2 state, here also it is plus 2 state, right? It has become 0. It has gained the electrons, it is called reduction. It is being reduced from plus 2 to metallic lead. This is called self-reduction. What we call it as self-reduction. There is another process also by which you can do this. If this lead oxide is treated with carbon or coke, it will also be converted into lead plus carbon monoxide. This is reduction by, this particular process is called as reduction by carbon. So these tin and lead can be extracted from self-reduction and carbon reduction. The sequence is also important. First of all, it undergoes self-reduction, then only it will undergo carbon reduction. First, it don't undergo carbon reduction. Even though there is no carbon, it will still undergo reduction. Which of the following is not hydrolyzed easily? So again, repeated question. Basically, this carbon tetrachloride will not undergo hydrolysis at all. Not easily, it will not undergo it. Because what is the reason? Because of the absence of d orbital, absence of vacant orbital, carbon cannot expand it valency more than 4. Because of that reason, any halide of carbon generally do not undergo hydrolysis. Here we have an equation. Try to understand the equation. Silicon tetrafluoride and reaction with water gives a compound A. When A is heated at a temperature of 1000 degrees Celsius, it gives B, and when this B is treated with sodium carbonate, it gives a compound called C. So he is asking us to identify B and C in the equation. First of all, you need to complete the equation. What is the equation given here? Silicon tetrafluoride on hydrolysis, it will be converted into H4 SiO4 plus what it will form with the mole of 4 moles of HF, right? We take 4 moles. Now, see what happens here. When you, this is A. What is A? A is alkoxylate gas. When this A is heated at 1000 degrees Celsius, what happens? It loses water, 2 moles of water. It will be converted into silicon dioxide. When this silicon dioxide, this is actually the B. When this silicon dioxide is treated with sodium carbonate, what happens? It will form, here it will form Na2, sodium silicate plus carbon dioxide gas will be liberated. So, what is Cu? C is sodium silicate. What is this? Sodium silicate we call it as. Sodium silicate we call it as. So, this is B and this is C. So, what is your answer? Fourth option is the right option as per the given equation. This type of questions are more oftenly comes. So for that reason, you should be able to have the awareness regarding how to complete the given chemical equation. If you make any mistake in the prediction of this A, B, C, your answer will be ultimately goes wrong. Sealants are good reducing agents. He has given three statements. First statement is A. Sealants are good reducing agents. Yes, sealants are good reducing agents. What are sealants? Hydrates of silicon. These are called as sealants. These are reducing agents. It's a right statement. And silicon is a joint tetrahedral polymer. It is also true. Right? It is also true. Tin tetrachloride acts as a Bronsted base. Bronsted base. What is meant by Bronsted base? It is not a Bronsted base which can donate OH minus. What is meant by Bronsted? On hydrolysis, it should give the OH minus ions in water. It does not give any OH minus in water, as we call it as. It is not a Bronsted base phase. So what are the two statements here? Both A and B are two statements as per the given question. So A and B are true. B and C are true. This is your answer. A and B are true. It is. Now let's move to the next question. Here comes our next question. Decreasing order of P character in the following. P character in the following. Right? Silicon, carbon dioxide, graphite. What is meant by P character? First of all, you should know their hybridization. This is silicon dioxide, this is carbon dioxide, and graphite is top. These are the three options given. So first of all, you should know the hybridization of central atom. Hybridization of central atom. Central atom. What is the hybridization of silicon and silicon dioxide? sp2. What is the hybridization of carbon and carbon dioxide? sp. What is the hybridization of carbon and graphite? sp2. Right? So let us try to predict the percentage character. What is the percentage character here? Percentage character is 25%. Percentage character is 50%. Right? And percentage character is how much it is? 33%, 33.33%. And the same we can also determine the percent P character. Right? 4 orbitals are overlapped to form 4 new orbitals, where 1s is 4 by what is this? Right? 1 by 4 is 25%, and 3 by 4 will be 75%. Right? 1 by 2 will be 50%, and 2 by 3 will be 66.6%. So he is asking us to identify percent P character. If you mistaken with percentage character, your answer will be wrong. So what is the answer here? Here this is A, this is B, this is C. Now, which is having highest percentage? A is having highest percentage, followed by C, followed by P. P is having least percentage of P character. Now let us see the answer. It is not correct. That is also not correct. Here you are the correct answer. Hope it is clear. The first ionization energies of the elements of group 14 are the following. He is asking about the first ionization energy. Generally, we know that the first ionization energy generally decreases from carbon to lead if you are moving. This first ionization energy gradually decreases. So, from this, what we can say? But there is an exceptional order. You cannot say like that directly. Basically, if you see. If you are talking about the decreasing order, carbon, silicon, germanium, lead and tin. There is an exception between lead and tin. This is your correct answer. This is the decreasing order of first ionization energy of 14 to 12. What is the reason for this? This is because of the lanthanide contraction. What is this? Lanthanide contraction. Okay. Because of that, nuclear force of attraction will be more on the lead when you compare with the tin. Let's make the completion of level 2 questions of 14th group. Now let's move to the exemplar questions of both 14th group as well as 13th group. The element which exists in liquid state for a wide range of temperature and can be used for measuring high temperature is. This is a question from the 13th group element. Generally we know that gallium is the element which is having wide range of temperature. It is generally at room temperature, its melting point is very less. It has a melting point of around 30 degrees Celsius. But if you are talking about its boiling point will be near about 2000 degrees Celsius. Its melting point is around 30 degrees. Around 30 degrees, not exactly I am saying, it is near about 30 degrees. And its melting point, its boiling point is near about 2000 degrees Celsius. For a wide range of temperature, between 30 degrees to 2200 degrees Celsius, it exists as a liquid. Because of this particular reason, it has a wide range of temperature where it exists in the liquid form. Because of this particular reason, it is used in the high temperature thermometers. Basically, in the thermometers we use mercury, but this mercury thermometer cannot be used for the measuring of high temperatures such as 1000 degrees or 1500 degrees Celsius. In high temperature thermometer, generally gallium is used because of its tendency to exist in liquid form for a wide range of temperature. The geometry of a complex species can be understood from the knowledge of type of hybridization of orbitals of central atom. The hybridization of orbital of central atom in beryllium hydroxide taken 4 times, and the geometry of the, here you should have a negative charge here, it has to be a complex one. Geometry of the complex are respectively. Hybridization and geometry of the complex are respectively. For this particular, here it is -2 dash to be. -2 dash to be beryllium which taken 4 -2. For this is asking us to identify geometry and hybridization. Here the hybridization of beryllium is sp3 and the geometry will be tetrahedral. So what will be the answer? Answer will be sp3 and tetrahedral. The exhibition of highest coordination number depends upon the availability of vacant orbitals of the central atom. Which of the following element is not likely to act as a central atom? See, he has given a complex ion F6 minus 3. Which of the following cannot be MEM? What is the coordination number here? Coordination number is 6. Covalency of M has to be what is? How much it is? Your coordination number or covalency we call as coordination number or covalency. How much it is? 6 is. For which it is not possible to exhibit the coordination number 6. Boron. What is the maximum covalency for boron is 4 only. It cannot exhibit 6. So because of that reason, this M cannot be boron. It can be aluminium, it can be gallium, and it can be indium. This is also a question from 13th group. Now let's move to the next question. The catenation, that is linking of similar atoms, depends on the size and electronic configuration of atom. The tendency of catenation of group 14 elements follows the order. Right? Yes, given the reason for the catenation also, but simply asking us to identify the tendency of catenation ability of group 14th elements. Generally, we know that down the catenation ability decreases. Basically, carbon exhibits a lot of catenation ability, which is very much greater than silicon, and silicon exhibits greater catenation than germanium, and germanium tin are having the approximately same catenation ability. So the answer will be B. It is. Ionization enthalpy kilojoules per mole for the elements of group 13 following order. If this is a question from the group 13 element, that is ionization enthalpy is asking. Ionization enthalpy is in what he has given delta H in kilojoules per mole he is asking us. So basically, if you are talking about ionization energy will be, if you are talking about the decreasing order, boron, gallium, aluminium, and as well as thallium and indium. This is actually the decreasing order of what is this? Decreasing order of ionization energy of group 13 elements. There are two exceptions are there. Here you have an exception between gallium and aluminium. Here you have an exception between thallium and indium. This is due to the DD contraction. What is this? This is the called DD contraction equivalence. Before gallium 10 electrons enters into the D subshell, where D subshell is a pore shielding. Because of that, the nuclear force of attraction of gallium very much larger than the aluminium. Because of that result, the size of the gallium becomes smaller than the aluminium. This is a very important exception in group 13. You have to remember it. But what is the reason for this exception in between thallium and indium? This is lanthanide contraction. What is this? Lanthanide contraction. So because of this reason, this is actually the general decreasing order of ionization energy of 13 group elements. So what is the proper option for this? D is the correct answer. Boron is greater than aluminium, aluminium is less than gallium, gallium is greater than indium, and indium is less than thallium. Good is clear. A compound X of boron reacts with ammonia on heating to give another compound Y, which is called inorganic benzene. The compound X can be prepared by treating boron trifluoride with lithium aluminum hydride. The compound X and Y are respectively. The compound X and Y can be represented by the formulas. See, basically, here X and Y is asking. Yeah, X and Y will be. X will be basically see when diborane, this is called diborane. Diborane is treated with ammonia. It forms B3N3H6. This is called inorganic benzene. What we call as inorganic benzene. Why we call it as inorganic benzene? Structure will be similar to the benzene, right? It will also have the similar structure with the diborane. Structure will be like this. Because of this, it is called as inorganic benzene. Now, it can also be prepared. This is X and this is Y here it is. Right? It can also be prepared from BF3 when it is treated with lithium hydride. Lithium hydride, it forms, take 2 moles and take 6 moles. It forms B2 at 6 plus 6 moles of LiF. So this is X and this is Y. What is key? This makes the completion of exemplar, and let us see the previously asked KCD questions. The species that is not hydrolyzed in water. See, barium peroxide, calcium carbide, phosphorus, tetraphosphorus dipoxide. It is also called phosphorus pentoxide. Magnesium nitrate. This particular barium peroxide, what is this? Barium peroxide. Barium peroxide is basically cannot undergo hydrolysis because it is insoluble, it cannot react with water. But it can react with mineral acids, it cannot react with the water. If you are treating this barium oxide with H2SO4, it forms, you might have studied this equation in hydrogen. It forms barium sulfate plus H2O. Hydrogen it is used in making of hydrogen peroxide. As it is generally does not react with water, it can undergo hydrolysis. Rest of them can undergo hydrolysis. For the properties mentioned, the correct trend in the correct trend for the different species is inert pair effect. Is saying that inert pair effect is decreasing from aluminium to indium. Inert pair effect is decreasing. Is it true? No. Inert pair effect actually what happens? It increases from aluminium to indium. So this statement is incorrect. The first ionization enthalpy is basically what happens. First ionization enthalpy decreases from beryllium to thallium. So this we can say this is the right state. And the strength of Lewis acids. Strength of Lewis acids it is also correct from boron trichloride, and these are all Lewis acids. Aluminum trichloride, aluminum trichloride. Strength of Lewis acid decreases. This is also true strength. Oxidizing property. Oxidizing property. This is incorrect. Basically, down the group oxidizing property. So actually, these two are correct friends as per the given question. First ionization enthalpy as well as strength of Lewis acids. Remaining two options are incorrect. Mention property. Addition of mineral acids to an aqueous solution of borax. The following compounds formed. Addition of mineral acid to aqueous solution of borax. The following compounds are formed. See, actually, what is borax? Na2, B4O7 is generally called borax. If you ask mineral acid, is nothing but acids such as sulfuric acid, HCl, nitric acid, or what? Mineral acids. So what it forms? It forms H2 plus 5 moles of water you take. It forms Na2SO4 plus 4 moles of H3BO3. What it forms? It forms orthoboric acid. What do you call it as? We call it as orthoboric acid. We call it as. Right? So what it will form? It forms orthoboric acid. Dry ice. Dry ice means this solid carbon dioxide is called as dry ice. So carbon dioxide in the solid form generally looks like ice, which is called as dry ice. When lead oxide reacts with concentrated nitric acid, the gas evolved is. See, basically what happens when lead oxide is treated with HNO3, it forms lead NO3 taken twice plus H2 plus forms O2 forms. Take 2 moles, right? So it will be half mole. So what will be evaporated? Oxygen gas will be evaporated. 2:2. That makes the completion of previous year KCG question. Let's move to level 2. These are assertion and reasoning types. There will be two statements will be given in the form of A and B. These are called assertion. If both the statements here, what is actually the criteria for attempting these type of questions is that if both A and B are true, if B is a proper explanation for A, you have to go with the option 1. If both the statements are true, if B is not a proper explanation for A, then you have to go with the option B. If A is correct, B is incorrect, you have to go with the option 3. If both are incorrect, you have to go with the option 4. This is the criteria for attempting this type of questions. Let us read the assertions. Among third year group elements, boron has highest melting point. Is it a true statement or not? Among 13 group elements, boron has the highest melting point. It's a true statement. Boron exists as a joint covalent polymer. Because of that reason only it has highest. It is also true, and it is a proper explanation for assertion. It is a proper reason also. So because of that reason, we will go with both A and R true, and R is a correct explanation for A. Because of its gigantic covalent polymeric structure only, it has highest melting point. Hope it is clear. Inorganic graphite is basically, which is called as inorganic graphite? Just boron nitride, which is represented either in this form or which is represented in this form. Its structure will be similar to the boron, hence it is also called as boron. Boron nitride, its structure will be similar to graphite, hence it is called inorganic graphite. Boron is used as a cleaning agent because it dissolves in water to give you an alkaline solution. What it gives? An alkaline solution. See, whenever you dissolve boron, Na2B4O7, when you are dissolving in water, what it forms? It forms NaOH plus H2B4O7. See here, you get NaOH. Take two water molecules. So because of the formation of this NaOH, it is an alkaline in nature. Why the solution is alkaline in nature? Due to the formation of NaOH. When borax is treated with water, it will give alkaline solution due to the formation of sodium hydroxide. Hope it is clear. Boric acid is used in carom board for smooth gliding of ponds because it is used as a carom board powder to be the smooth surface of the carom board. Because the reason is that boric acid molecules are closely chemically bonded and hence soft. Its low density makes it fluffy. It is chemically inert with 5 hydrogen bonding. Boric acid gives its layered structure. Because of the layered structure, it is used as a carom board powder. Which of the following is alum? Basically, what are alums? Alums are those with sulfates where it contains two types of cations. One should be in +1 oxidation state, other should be in +3 oxidation state. Such type of sulfates are called as alums. Here ammonium plus and Fe+3. This is because of that reason we are calling it as C. Why it is +3? Two sulfate ions are there. That means total negative charge -4. So out of -4, only ammonia will exhibit +1, and the remaining charge has to be Fe+3. Alums are those sulfates where it contains two cations. One should be in +1 oxidation state, other should be in +3 oxidation state. Such type of sulfates are called as alums. Hope it is clear. This makes the completion of discussion of all the questions of group 14th as well as 13th, and it makes the completion of discussion about the P block elements. That's all for the day. Thank you.